What's up, everyone, and welcome to Cryopodcast, where we talk about what we love about Warframe, its greatest successes, how we, the players, received it, and areas of improvement. We are a group of players from Umbra Templarii Clan that range from seasoned veterans, hardcore to casual players, and newbies. Everything discussed or will be discussed is all our individual opinions. So let's jump right in. We have Jay.
Hi, everybody.
And Andre.
I forgot my mic was on push to talk. Fuck.
Good job, Nub. Good job.
We have Tyler.
Drop back.
Today's episode is the second of our two episodes covering the grind. Today we'll be taking a look at the grind from an endgame perspective. So what is you guys' journeys like to becoming an experienced player like?
For me, it was a gradual thing. Like I think I said this in the other video, but like I hit top mastery level or whatever it was, mastery rank, back when it was way back in the day when there wasn't really much content out. So for me, it's been a gradual release, just a little bit at a time, chunk by chunk. Every 3 months or so.
I got shoved into a deep end. You're just walking along the edge of a pool. Someone just came up and just pushed you.
Right. Mine was kind of like being waterboarded. All the while being shouted insults at. So
I wonder
kind
who
of
did
similar
that.
to yours.
Oh yeah, I think we were on the same boat, Anton.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There's a lot of water analogies here. I guess I'll speak for you a little bit here, Andre. Andre and I, we kind of met Jay around the same time, and I guess we both had a different idea of what the game was like then. But I guess our definition of an experienced player would be like someone who actually understood the game properly, whatever that means. But I don't think we really did then. Maybe Andre did, but I certainly didn't. But we met Jace, in pubs or wherever we did, and our interactions were very enjoyable, and Jay decided to invite us into his clan, and so from there he kind of like became kind of like our mentor, basically teaching us.
For a second there, I thought you were gonna say he was about to ruin it.
Oh, yeah, and if we weren't doing this podcast, yeah, I'd probably see something else. But no, Jay was pretty much our all of our mentors in some way. We were very lucky to have someone that I don't know, I wouldn't say had the patience, but definitely had the motivation to help us grow.
I'm still your clan leader. It's not a fucking democracy, all right?
Hey, we're equals now. Whatever. we're all officers now.
It's true.
How about you, Tyler?
My experience with the grind,
Becoming an experienced player.
It just comes naturally. Like I play the game and it just comes naturally.
Oh, that must be
It
nice.
doesn't
Natural talent. Okay.
like I don't like try to get better at the game or anything. I just play the game and yeah, just comes
Oh,
after a while.
he's just good. Can't relate. My whole life has been a struggle.
I have to agree. Like out of the hundreds of people that I've worked with, in this clan, some that have stayed, some that have left, whichever. I'd say Tyler's probably the most gifted, like mechanically gifted, but also he just gets things right away. You tell him you needed something done in a mission, and he'll just do it. You don't even have to tell him how; he just does it right away. He understands stuff. I think he sees games in a different light. I don't know what it is about this guy. He's like a machine AI that was designed to play this game or something like that.
Like I don't play games competitively. I just play them for fun. So yeah.
Yeah, it
When I
says
play
the
a game,
grandmaster
yeah,
rank in pretty much every game you play. Okay.
Only one game. I don't grind games because when you grind it becomes boring. Like I play games for fun. That's why I keep switching games.
That's interesting.
I understand the feeling with the grind. I think the last time we discussed about the grind, I get bored easily, but Warframe, I can keep playing it.
So that kind of leads me to my next question, right? Like a lot of people talk about the grind in Warframe, um, and so what are we grinding towards? What is at the top of that mountain? You know, uh, and how big was that climb for you?
Was this directed towards me?
I think it's for all of us. But you
Yeah.
should go ahead first.
Oh boy. The first big climb was with the whole Eidolon hunting, because when I came back to Warframe, I didn't even know what Eidolons were until I'm just doing the Plains of Eidolon. I'm like, ooh, what the fuck are these giant robots walking around? It is, and then I found out everything you needed to do to beat him, and then I'm just like, oh boy.
For me, like the climb, like the top of the mountain is kind of specific. Like I don't think a lot of players look at Warframe the same way as I do. Even within the clan and even within like just the player base itself. For me, completion, like for me, the top of the mountain is being able to know what is best. And I think that best for people or everyone, and that I think that falls on me in a special way because I was a clan, the only clan leader for a while, so the pressure was there. I was the source of information of how do you do this or how do you do that. So I had the drive and motivation to get better at it. So for me, the top of the game was knowing which weapons were best, which ones were meta weapons, which ones produced the best, the best amount of damage, or even rankings. Like for example, a Rubico Prime versus like a Snipetron Vandal. So I'd have to format everything to know. So my entire arsenal was formatted as a result of that. On top of that, it was also being able to grind Kuva the best way possible, the most efficient way, shortest amount of time possible, the most amount that you can get out of it. Knowing all those things and being able to do them efficiently, for me, is the end game. That includes arbitration endless. That includes what is it called? PT orb, credit farms. If you need it, you should be able to do it in like probably within 4 or 5 minutes solo. And that's kind of that's my standard that I have. Same as Eidolons, you should be able to hunt at 5x3 minimum, 6x3 if possible. But it takes a good crew to do it, but it should be possible. That's where I see the end game. That's where I see the top of the mountain. And if you can do all that stuff, then that's where you're at the top of the mountain. That's me though. That's just my point of view. And people say, "Hey man, you're fucking crazy, dude. Like, how do you do that? Like there's no way." And it's, but that is what I see it as. That's the end. That's the top.
For me, I guess like the end game was more like being able to access all the content in the game. From endless missions, Eidolons. I'm not really the kind of person that like would want to do like a 6x3. Although that was something I did try to do for a while. I got close to like 5x3 plus 1, but
I thought it was +2. I thought you did a +2. Okay, never mind.
+2. No, you're right. It was a +2.
Yeah, it was. I'm pretty sure it was +2, and it was an American squad. I think that's why you didn't have that.
It had to be an American squad. You guys live all
didn't have to be 600 ping.
God, oh man. All right, we're not gonna go through that again. Oh man.
Oh jeez, yeah, that was pretty bad.
But like going through a remedial course with EJ, and then having like it was literally like a boot camp.
Yeah, it was. Man. It was. I'm not gonna lie, it was. It was like that.
Yeah. Looking back, if you know what to do, the climb isn't that big. I think that anyone could reach like my level, I guess, of things I'm able to access now within like realistically, right? Like not playing like 8 hours a day, but with just like with time for other things in your life, you can probably do it for like 3 months. Like there was like 1 or 2 guys that are kind of crazy who did it in like a month or less, but they're like exceptions to the rule, I think.
I mean, everyone has different goals for the game, so everyone's top is over.
But the top of the mountains may look different for everyone, but the path is the same.
Yeah, I agree. And how you walk that is completely up to you. Like I think you mentioned a very critical point there, and it's like it's about how people see games. Like you have casual gamers, you have like people who work, but they're considered still hardcore gamers because they delve into the hardcore aspects. And gaming, like it's a young culture, right? Like I don't want to go into the entire history, but PC gaming's been out for what, like 20 years, when everything else in the world, computers, what, like 40 years. So this whole thing of of balancing life and all the other things you have to do, it's relatively, I would say, socially, it's rather new. So people still struggle with it. There is still, there are still players who let's say work a 9 to 5 job, go home and they do their raids, whatever game they play. They do 40-man raids, 20-man raids, or whatever. They play for 8 hours, 9 hours, go to bed at 1 a.m. and then wake up and they repeat the whole process again. Then you have like gamers who are like, you know what, I play games all day. Like there are some people even in this channel, they play games for like 18 hours. They play this for 2 hours, they play that for 3 hours, they play this for an hour. So it really depends on your gaming style, and I think in addition to that, also what your goals are. But if you put a good 3 or 4 hours into the game every day, as Anton mentioned, it's not actually that hard to accomplish. You can cut a lot of corners, and you can really fast forward your progress. It's just about how to do it, I guess, and the direction. Like you'd have to have direction and guidance in order to achieve that. But it is possible, definitely. Yeah.
I think also like another thing that that I think that you brought up, that's a good point. Like younger games fit a younger crowd more easily, mainly because like, they have less responsibilities, they have more time, they can align their schedules more easily with their friends. I know that now that some of us are adults, it's
Yep,
just
that's right.
to meet with our day-to-day friends is still a big challenge, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, you want to have lunch on Saturday, but there's a raid going on it, so you're gonna have to choose between the two. Yep. If you're younger, definitely, you have more time, definitely, and a lot of times people are gonna have to make sacrifices. But aside from a lot of these things, I think it's still definitely achievable. A lot of people don't understand like how a lot of where the shortcuts lie, and that's an example of that would be, let's say, for example, cutting the focus grind. Focus is like a main issue. A lot of players, even content creators, they don't use operator. And for anybody who I think is technically in the end game, you should have a fully kitted operator with full amp and everything like that. Like an amp that performs well. It's key for arbitration, but not only is that it's good for Eidolon hunting and for even just high DPS. Like you can do a lot of things with an operator. But the reason why a lot of people they don't even bother with it. Oh, I have to hunt Eidolons. Oh, okay, forget it. I'll just do my 300,000 cap. Well, if you're going to do your 300,000 cap, that grind extends over a huge amount of time. If you Eidolon hunt 5x3, you can finish your entire focus tree in like a month and a half. And for a lot of people, the grind. Well, why don't you just learn how to do it? Why don't you learn about the team, the team engagement, the process of actually playing as a team, and that's going to push the community. You yourself being part of it, and that push will create a gigantic push for growth in Eidolon hunting. And that's why Eidolon hunt has always, I think, been segregated as being a very specific niche growth area. And people who have Eidolon hunted play in a very different manner than other players in Warframe, which would I would say probably be like 99% of the game base, like the players, they don't have that unlock. 1% do. So it's a vast difference when you have all those tools unlocked. It's just so big, and it's what, a month? I don't know. For me, it's not a big deal. But I can see where the gripes come from.
You come from a generation of like WoW gamers, right? Who run like raids that last for hours and hours. And in the early days of Warframe, you would go on like what, 12, 14-hour long endless survival runs or something.
Yeah, I mean that's how we farmed a lot of our primes. That's like I said in the previous video. Yeah, that's how the clan was. Like we had farming then was in tower areas. So if you wanted to make the biggest bang for your buck, like if you're gonna go into survival, you're gonna want a necros for air supply changes, like for re-rolling on air supply, because after an hour and a half, no matter what, like the kill rate's gonna start to drop, and you really want to keep that air supply going. So it's not only about choosing the right tile, having the right room in the tile set. It's also position gameplay, and also making sure that everyone stays awake during the whole thing. And that's actually the biggest struggle. That's the funny thing, is that after like 3 or 4 hours, people's attention span begins to drop because they're only pressing like a few buttons. Back then, Necros was 3 spam. Like you actually had to spam 3. It wasn't a toggle like it is now. So you'd have a player who would just be standing there and pressing 3 and be like, okay, there's no air supply. Well, I'm pressing 3. Oh, wait, I don't have any more energy. Wait, I'm in AFK mode. Oh crap! So they'd have to bounce around and they'd have to like, okay, guys, I'm not flagged as AFK anymore. Okay, now the air supply is going back up. It's like
that's Nova now, right? Basically, like to speed up enemies coming in for resource farms, Nova has to keep her speed up like every 12 seconds or something.
Right. That still is, that was still back then. But Necros, I mean, he had to spam 3. Like if he wanted to desecrate, like you had to manually do it. And that when DE made that change, that was like a huge change for the for all farms. Like anything that required a resource, farm or like survivals, for example, like that was a really big welcome change. And I applaud DE for that. That was really, really good. They recognized the fact that we needed that.
So I guess like that really shows like along with Eidolon gameplay that like, okay, so a lot of the endgame content in the game, including Eidolon hunting resource farm, a lot of it actually revolves around team-based gameplay, and I think there's a large part of the community that prefers solo gameplay. Don't you think?
You bring up a really big point there, and you're right, absolutely right. You are absolutely right. A lot of people like to play this game solo, and I think that I'm not blaming anyone here, but when you look at content creators, they don't work as teams. Like you don't have like 4 content creators working at the same time, in their all individual warframes, and then showcase like even maybe, let's say, streaming on Twitch, like what their perspective is of whatever gameplay that they're doing right then and there. A lot of it is realistically for them to align their schedules like that, and et cetera, et cetera. I could see a lot of the problems with that. So what they do is instead they showcase weapons, they showcase top 10 whatever, they showcase different warframes and things like that. And Eidolon hunting, you can do it solo, but it is very team based, in my opinion, if you want to do it efficiently. Like if you want to do a 5x3 and you don't have DE at some points released like certain tools, like there are certain arcanes that you could use to solo the content even at 5x3, but they removed a lot of that, so now you can't. So now we're back to team-based gameplay, and if you want to do it efficiently, yep, you're gonna have to team up, and hopefully it's with people that people that you can learn together, or have someone guiding you. And if you don't, well, you're gonna have to go through the whole public, the recruiting system, and it's a hit and a miss for a lot of that. Like I'm sure there are a lot of people here who are listening to this and who also have experienced themselves, like in this channel. Like you go into certain groups and it's advertised as 5x3 or 3x3, and you come out doing 1x3 because the person didn't have this, or they didn't know how to use this, or it was their first time, and it was like, okay,
well, their focus tree is not complete.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, you don't have Matarai Void Strike, maxed out. Okay, you're still using a modamp. All right. So, there's a lot of like stuff that's like, I guess, hit and miss in that area, and a lot of people have horror stories, and that's not the game. That's human nature. That's how I see it, and it befalls on community to teach community how to do this. And unfortunately, we don't have the best resources for that. But that's not a poke at DE. I'm just saying that a lot of the content creators themselves, they don't, and I'm not blaming content creators either. They don't 5x3 themselves. There are a few that do. Or they Eidolon hunt regularly, but a lot of them don't. They don't bother with it, like I've said before. So yeah, that leaves the community in kind of a black hole when it comes to that stuff.
What about like other content? Because like there's a few things in the community that I see, like they still go and have certain squad sports, like resource farms, right? Definitely Eidolon hunts. There's definitely a meta, right? What are some areas that people don't squad up properly, I guess, for like what content do you see that's still a problem for?
Looking for an endgame grind perspective, there's a lot of content out there that the people don't squad up properly for. That goes from like Kuva farms, like especially Kuva farms, and even how to Kuva farm. Like in floods, a lot of people don't even bring Smita Kavats. They're just going with whatever can survive best. And I don't blame them, because maybe that's all they have, or maybe they don't have a Smita Kavat, and no one even really tells them. But there are a lot of things. Anything in the end game, Eidolon hunting, arbitration, resource farms. Resource farms actually aren't as bad, because a lot of the community now know that Necros is this, or Korra does that, and Korra is better than Hydroid. But that's an area of Warframe that I think is accessible to everyone, the entire core base, which is, oh, I need plastids, oh, I need polymer bundles. I want to farm condition overload. They all happen to be in the same place, but like a lot of these things, like a lot of these players tell other players, and that's because that's something that's widespread. Everyone needs. For arbitration, farming endo, you can still get endo in other places. It's not as efficient, but arbitration probably is the best place to farm it. Just like, for example, how Kuva Disruption, if you have really strong synergy with your squad and you really know how to take out those demolists, you can actually move faster than the survival timer, which was a really big welcome. Again, I applaud you, DE, for that. But like people don't squat up for that. They bring in, Mesa, or they bring in, like Warframes. They think that kill fast, but maybe that's all they have again. But again,
it kills mobs fine, but when it comes to killing the disruption target, they don't kill it fast enough.
That's right. You need weapon buff Warframes, for example. And so you see a lot of Sarens. You'll see a lot of occasionally you see a lot of Wisps too. Actually, that's not too bad because that's a great support frame that buffs your entire squad. But you'll see a lot of Mesas out there, and it's like, why didn't you bring Titania? And it's not blame. It's just that they don't know, and they think they know. And that's community teaching community how to do this.
This video feels like a little bit shorter than the last one. Maybe because maybe it's not as nostalgic as the last one. But what do you guys still enjoy about Warframe? Like, what's keeping you in the game, or maybe where has Warframe kind of become not as relevant for you, and you're looking to greener pastures?
I mean, it's mostly the people that we meet. I think for most of the people, it's the people that they meet in Warframe.
No, I don't like you, dude. Sorry. No, I don't play because nope.
Yeah, okay, fuck off. Nobody cares about you, okay?
All right. I'm sorry. I love you, man.
Less than 3 you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true for me. I don't think I would have stayed in Warframe for as long as I have, or playing continuously like I have, for the clan, and for members of the clan. Like I guess part of my end game now is helping other players in my clan grow. Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Kind of like revealing to them like the secrets of the game to help them be able to earn Plat, for example, or reaching red crit and damage in the numbers of hundreds of thousands or even the millions, right? Those it's those moments that kind of like are really cool, really fun. On the other end of what's pushing me away from the game is there's small things here and there, and then there's like larger things, which we'll cover in later videos. But I guess interacting with other people in the game as a veteran is frustrating because there's knowledge out there, and definitely all this knowledge is accessible, but I'm surprised by how few people read the wiki, or how few people take the couple minutes they need to just educate themselves. Just take for example, like going to Lua, right, and figuring out how to do the Ascension Hall challenges, right? They're not very hard to do if you take like a couple minutes to do a little bit of research and how to do it. All the challenges can be completed with any Warframe. It doesn't really matter. But I'll be giving other people the opportunity to do it and letting them know, hey, let's say we're doing the speed challenge. I'm sorry, the stealth challenge. Hey, this guy, he says he knows how to do it. Let's just make sure we're not tripping any of the alarms. Let's make sure we're all in this room here. And this is very fresh. Just happened literally like just yesterday. And there's another guy in there. He's like, oh, what happened? I'm like, dude, like, I explained like this guy said he knew how to do it. You just kind of mess it up. I was like, oh, all right, it's fine. Let's just go and try again. So we went through another mission, but this time the guy who said he knew how to do it didn't actually know how to do it, and it's not entirely his fault. He thought he knew how to do it. He had learned from someone else in it, but somehow they kind of were able to complete it by luck or chance or something. And so I'm like, oh boy, here we go. All right. I mean, I was maybe a little too frank about it, but they left, and so there's also the pain of like dealing with pubs and people who
Uh-huh.
aren't willing to learn a listen or take even criticism. I wasn't being rude
Mhm.
about it or anything. I didn't throw any
Right.
insults his way, but
Yep.
he just like for lack of a better word, he was a bit of a snowflake about it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
are really in a different Warframe neighborhood than I am.
Oh yeah, what's your neighborhood like?
My pubs that I meet with, they're nice, they chatty, they learn, they actually listen. So I mean, you guys seem like you guys are just like in a really bad places.
Well,
Well,
it seems
Best thing to do
some
is
people
just play solo.
some people to do it solo. Yeah, but I mean, like
mm,
part of the game is also playing with other people, and
yeah, I
Warframe
agree.
can be
It
experienced
is. Yeah.
both ways.
Yeah, play with clanmates, but pubs
Yeah.
are nubs.
There are a lot of pubs that are nubs. I'll agree, and they'll admit it too. It's like they're new. But for me, a primary concern is like I know this is another topic that we're going to probably cover at another time, but it's like the size of like, for example, North America. You have at least Canada, you have the United States, and maybe you have like Mexico, some parts of it or something like that. Some players from Mexico. So at least it's regionally the ping can be similar, and like everyone speaks English, but like Asia, for example, if you don't have your ping limiters on, like you're connecting all the way from Mongolia all the way to India, and it's like why? Like Asia is so massive, and then on top of that, there are language barriers. And I'm not faulting individual nations for that or people from those countries, but because you're playing with a player base, like me myself, I'm from Canada, but I live in Asia. I work here in Asia, so I come across a lot of players that don't speak English, but English is the main form of communication here in Warframe Asia. Because if you look at Warframe Asia trade chat, if you look at region chat, any chat, everyone's speaking in English, and that's the main form of communication. But the degrees in which everyone understands it, and so sometimes when you're trying to even link things, it's linking to them in a different language, and it's not linking properly, or like, and you reach a lot of communication barriers. So there are already on top of the layers of frustration of the nature of society itself. Like you have snowflakes, you have hard asses, you have all kinds of people. You get that all mixed into the fray. On top of that, you have all these language barriers. Plus, you have ping issues and technical issues. Like it's hard to navigate through all of that stuff. So yes, I'm in a completely different neighborhood than you. But
Today's
for
on an international level. I'm just trying to connect onto NA.
yeah. But I mean, for me, a lot of like what you guys said, like teaching players how to play. Um, like I've given up on trying to teach a lot of the general player base how to play because sometimes they don't want to learn. Sometimes and rightfully so. If because that's how they want to do it. They want to learn it on their own or discover it, or sometimes they do want to know. Either way, I offer if they want it, then I give it to them. I make good on my offering. But if they don't want it, then so be it. But them stumbling through and screwing things up for everybody else, that's a common thing. Like that Anton was saying. By the way, you can do the stealth mission in like 0.5 seconds. By the way, you just have someone waiting at the end. You just trigger the start, and the person at the end will trigger the end right away. So there's like no in between laser stuff. You just have two people on each end, and that'll do it. Speed drift you can do with operator. You don't even need a speed warframe anymore. You just bounce your way through. Titania, I mean, she just flies through anyway. But anyway, doing a lot of these like Lua challenges, I understand. Like trying to knock out Nightwave, and Nightwave I think is a great thing because it puts a lot of players into going back into it's recycling a lot of the old existing material, which is good. But you'll encounter all kinds of players, and so you'll have in your squad an MR3, you'll have an MR25, and you'll have let's say like an MR like 16. And MR isn't always representative skill, it isn't, but it does most of the time give somewhat of an assessment of how experienced they are in the game. There is the odd guy who is like MR1 who's been probably who has 5,000 hours and he just refuses to do the MR test. And if he probably really wants to, I'm sure he's actually like MR equivalent to MR 20 something. But aside from that one case, most of the time you can assess. And sometimes these guys they don't know, and it invites a lot of possible ways things can go hairy. Like things can get pretty bad pretty fast. Like what the f are you doing? And then you stupid blah blah blah, and then name calling, attacking, and that's quite common. And that's That's what you see, but that
Well,
falls on.
that's a bit of part of gamer culture there, right? Like no one wants to take responsibility,
That's
and
right.
everyone wants to blame someone else.
Warframe wasn't like
that's
that though.
that's gamer culture in general, though.
Agree, but I think Warframe's community is somewhat unique. Like, and I'll say this, and I'm proud to be part of the community in the sense that 5 years ago, the community didn't have any of that stuff. We were all like, if you saw someone say that, a lot of people would whisper, "Are you okay, dude? Like, why are you so hostile? Like, maybe you need help with something. I can help you." And and even now, those players still are in Warframe, and those that are listening to this, I applaud you for that too. Like that you still have that positive attitude. That you still fight through all the layers of bullshit that you have to fight through, all that negativity. With the world and breaking down the way it is, and you're still able to maintain that positive nature. That's good on you. And I think a lot of it is like players and clans, like the community, I guess, as a whole, and how they deliver that information. The wiki's there. You're right. People don't make good use of the tool. That's true. A lot of people want to be handheld, and that also falls in the nature of the clan. Like there are a lot of clans out there that you mentioned in the previous video that are massive. Let's say like moon clans. Like they have 1,000+ players, and like they require resources. No one even knows each other. It's a lonely place. You're in a gigantic room full of 1,000 people that don't even talk to each other. And if you say something, it just gets ignored. Or sometimes you'll even get the other end of it, which is like get good nub, like get good, GITGUD nub.
Oh man,
Like a lot of that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, and so
Yeah.
like it falls on you to find the right clan as a player. That's your responsibility to find the right type of clan that's going to nurture you
Yeah.
through the game. And there are clans
You're
like that exist out there. I'm not trying to put on that for our clan because our clan is very very specific. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
not that.
I think there's like a little bit of a fear for new players, all right. Like if they leave their clan, they'll lose access to certain like items and weapons, don't they? And
That's true.
for yeah,
Clan research,
for
yeah,
some
absolutely
players, like they're held hostage a little bit. I don't think they know they could just. It's very easy to find another clan that has access to those things.
So this is like a disclaimer I just want to throw out there. I know I'm talking a lot. I'm really sorry, but I really want to get this message to those players who are actually listening, who are new players, or even like kind of intermediate level players. If your clan is like that, then do your homework. Go out there and find a clan that's going to do that for you. And even if they don't have the best clan arsenal to offer you, oh, they don't have this unlocked yet, they don't have that unlocked yet, but you know that the leadership actually cares for its people. They actually do missions together. They promote a lot of interclan culture. That's great. And that's what you should be looking for if you want that kind of help. Because guess what? Otherwise, Warframe's a very dark, cold place, just like space. It's like it's a very lonely place. And the clan that you're in, the big clan that you're in, you're not going to get any help. And in terms of your personal growth in the game, you're not going to grow. You're just and you that's your responsibility to do that. And I urge you to go and seek that out. Like go find the right clan that matches your game ethics, your game codes, what you want, and that will allow you to shave a lot of the edge off this grind because the grind is big. It is there, but you can shave a lot of it off with the right people. Sorry for the ramble there.
No, that makes a lot of sense. I've been in a number of clans before I found this one, and in a couple of them, they just like I said this before, they farm players, but not only that, they ask for like if you want to stay in the clan, like they do this like once a week or so, or like once a month, and like if you want to stay in the clan, you have to donate this, donate that. If you don't, we're gonna kick you out. It's like and back then I didn't know that like that like I didn't have to do that to stay in the clan. I kind of bought that, and my naivete as a new player kind of got the best of me, and that held back my growth for a lot of the time. And they, those clans, they didn't care about my growth.
Yep,
they
right.
care about my resources. They were there to farm players, and that contributed a lot to my negative experience in Warframe. And I left the game multiple times because of that. I think when I met you guys, I just come back from I think a 2 or 3 year break from the game because I had such a negative experience. And even then, I was reluctant to leave my clan, wasn't I?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were. It's yeah, and it's you were. And Andre, shame on you, like for doing that to all of the other. You had your own clan, and you did that to all the players that you brought in, and you drained all their plastics away. We know. We know what really happened.
Andre was a Warframe warlord. just with his
Look,
slave
Yeah,
labor.
he's slave labor warlord. You had plastids,
no, no, no.
it would go into his
No,
pocket. That's how it worked.
I call myself a Warframe
Oh,
entrepreneur. Okay, okay. I'm
wow. Capitalist to the max over here. Jesus.
well, Anton, I didn't meet you when you were with the clan. I met Jay when I was still part of a clan that I joined with buddies that got me back into Warframe
Uh,
after I could
no, all
find.
those stands were the same. It was always like, that circle, that small circle of buddies, and they benefit from everybody else. It's always the
And
same
I
story.
benefit from all of them. Oh, your resources are mine, your resources are mine to use, even though it's not my clan.
You can chug my nuts, all right? Chug my nuts. Oh man.
Yeah, a lot of good points that you made, Anton and Andre. Like, and also you too, Tyler. Like your end game perspective, I know you don't really play the game anymore, and it's kind of sad because, to be honest, like Tyler, you're one of the better. I can hear myself echoing back.
I have another thing why I still stay in the game. The fact that I can still earn things in the game, it matters a lot. It gives me something to look forward to kind of earn. Nightwave is something I still come back for from time to time. I although admittedly I'll come in for daily login and to do my daily Nightwave, and on begin the week when the new Nightwave series rolls out or whatever, all those missions, I just do all that in on the day it comes out. But I don't hunt as much anymore. I feel like there's
Hunt? You don't even hunt at all. I don't think any of us do. But yeah.
yeah. I mean, there used to be I know Jay, you are part of the circle of 6x3 hunters, and there's a slightly bigger circle of 5x3 hunters,
Yep.
and it was actually back then. I do remember where our clan's reputation preceded us, and I was like, oh wow,
that's true.
We're
Yep.
people actually know who we were because of the reliability of our players, and that was thanks,
That's right.
in part to you training us, and then us being training me, Andre, and Tyler, but also from us training our newer players as well. And I mean, so much of that credit goes to you, Jay. You built that reputation.
I don't think so. I don't think it goes to me. Like I'm going to disperse. Thank you for that, but I'm going to disperse a lot of the credit to a lot of you guys too. And I know some of you guys might be watching this, might be like, oh, this some
Here comes
shit.
the circle jerk.
But yeah, but it's not. You'll have to understand that the way I did lead these idol hunts, just so anybody who's watching understands. I led it like a military style, so it was very if you're not prepared, I would shit on you for it. If you weren't ready, if you didn't have the right frame of mind, if you even missed a button press, you would get some flack for it. Because we're in a team environment, and so you guys actually bore. You guys bore the weight. I don't know. They made them. The way I see it is they made themselves cry because they're snowflakes on their own. No, okay. Okay, so
Jay's just a
So,
meme page.
actually, it was Tyler. Actually, I think Tyler made them cry the most because Tyler was like, "Get good, nub." Like he would say stuff like that as a joke. It was as a joke, and then they would actually cry about it. Like I'm trying my best. And there's in Discord, they would actually say that. They'd be like, and then we'd be like, okay, here we go again. And it's frustrating. And as frustrating as it is, because of a lot of the difficulties that Eidolon hunters had to go through, we'll cover that in another video. Like Eidolon hunting itself had its ups and downs. And because it was meta gameplay for a while, it offered many things. First of all, it offered arcanes. And arcanes are part of the end game. They're your 9th and 10th weapon mod slot. That's how I see it, or Warframe slot. They really are. If you compare, for example, a fully upgraded arcane strike versus, let's say, the speed benefits, attack speed benefits you get from, let's say, Fury or even Prime Fury, it's pretty damn good. So, arcane velocity, arcane strike, even arcane grace, arcane energize, especially like the legendary tier mods, arcanes. Those are critical to a lot of the end game gameplay. They facilitate a lot of stuff. But it wasn't only getting them; it was also getting them and selling them too, which converted into a lot of platinum. That was the fuel source for a lot of players entering into trade. So if anybody who really wanted to enter trade at a higher level, that was part of the trading grind that I would put them through. Get good at Eidolon hunting. You have 0 plat now. Get a few arcanes, sell them. Get a base plat, and then start your trades. And then that translated into, oh, I want to buy this god tier Riven. I can buy it because I have, 20,000 plat stored up after 3 weeks of Eidolon hunting, or a month and a half of Eidolon hunting. And a lot of people don't realize like how much plat you can get from doing that because it was a very niche market. A lot of content creators slammed the Operation Scarlet Spear and said, "Oh, this is like stupid. Like this is just so boring."
Oh man,
and I agree. Like a lot,
great. Oh.
like Operation Scarlet Spear itself, in terms of the gameplay, it wasn't a quote unquote fun for a lot of players, and I understand that because you're doing the same shit day in day out. But when you look at it, when you look at what you got out of it, like compared to Eidolon hunting, you can max out an arcane energize if you really put your mind to it within a certain amount of hours, and it would take Eidolon hunters, multiplied by 10 just to get that maxed arcane, because not only
guaranteed ones that you needed,
right,
right?
you can actually select the ones that you wanted to choose. In Eidolon hunts, you just have a chance of getting it. And the percent chance, as you know in Warframe, that drop chance is quite low. So back then the entry point to get a maxed arcane, energize, that gate was quite big. It was a huge gate you had to go through. And our Operation Scarlet Spear, as much as everyone slammed it, like a lot of the
I
it
loved
was
it.
like
I loved it. It was very interesting gameplay.
like for me it was like, and we flew through it because we're a clan. Like we could do it. A lot of people who might be watching might think like, oh well, you dedicate 40 minutes to like getting this many points. But we farmed entire 17 waves perfectly, yeah, in 20 minutes. Like it's not hard, but you needed this, you needed that, you needed this and that and that and that. And the question is, do you have that? So
game plan.
yeah, like do you have Exodia Contagion Max? Do you have like a Chroma on board? Back then Chroma he was still self-damaging. An Exodia Contagion could hit through Limbo Rift, and even if it doesn't, it still doesn't matter. I mean, you still have a Limbo Rift up, and you don't have a Nullifier to pop the bubble anyway. So, I mean, a lot of it is about map knowledge and about gameplay, and the thing is that a lot of people, including content creators, they don't take apart these things to the point where like they look at it, they break it down so that you can do it at the utmost 100% efficiency. And if there are people who can do it faster than you, then why are you releasing a video that says this is the fastest way possible? It shouldn't be like that, because there is faster. And like, to me, that's my gripe with some of the content that comes out on YouTube. But and that's why a lot of times for like the fastest way to farm stuff, I'll try to devise and come up with it on my own. Or like I asked the clan, we deliberate. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you run this weapon, I'll run this weapon. Yeah, that's right. And that's because we have this resource, and the biggest resource is this clan. We have the human resource. A lot of clans, if you don't do that, push yourselves to do it. Change it so that you can. And the entire Operation Scarlet Spear experience, quote unquote, could have been a lot different. If you're going to be doing the grind for 18 hours, spread over 3 or 4 days, or maybe even one day, if you're really that hardcore, why not do it with a bunch of people that you like, and do it, and you can talk about all kinds of shit. You could talk about to the world's problems, to whatever the fuck you want. But the thing is that whole thing comes about to what I was saying earlier. Like, it's about shaving that edge off, and it's also like Eidolon hunting. It can also be a great experience. Although under my tutelage or my my direction, it wasn't always fun. But there were times where like the feeling of the savor of victory, like, oh, I actually improved, or like, yeah, we really hit this time. Like we did pull a 6x3, or okay, we got the first time when you rip that amp, the first time any Eidolon hunter who's hunted and who learned how finally consistently snap that shield off in one shot, and you knew it was you because you saw that massive blue number that you hit the shield, and you saw the Eidolon turning red and blue at the same time because your timing on that shot was perfect, on that amp shot. You know that you've reached a point in the game where you've matured, you've grown. And that's what I'm trying to say is, you guys out there, it falls on you, and not only clan leaders, but also individuals in clans, to find the right place for you. And that's how you get past the end game. It's that's the secret. That's it right here. Right. We've said it to you right here.
I just remembered something. It's I guess it was like a feature, or I don't know if it's a feature or if it's a program, but wasn't there something called Guides of the Lotus? Do you remember Guides of the Lotus? They're basically like
Sure.
actual players in Warframe that would like they hang out in like I guess like chat or whatever.
Oh, they have purple text. These guys had special colored text, right? And you had to do a
Yeah.
certain amount of helping, and then you received this rank. Yes, I remember this. I didn't even know that was taken out. Did they not exist anymore?
Actually, I don't know. Do they? Do you guys know if they still exist?
I
I've never
don't use
heard of
region
this.
chat. So
Tyler would be the last person to know.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, Tyler would never ask anybody.
He wouldn't, and he would just say
Anything.
nubs. Like that's all he would say. Like yeah.
Did you guys remember your experiences with them? Like asking them for help or anything like that?
No, and occasionally I've actually found them to be wrong, but that's because of the amount of experience I guess I have in the game. But occasionally, most of the time, but that doesn't detract them from their incentive or like the intent, which is to help people, which is great. I mean, that's I find that in this game, most out of a lot of other games that I've played, World of Warcraft, Counter Strike, anything, a lot of online games, I found this community to be probably the least toxic of all.
Least toxic, but somehow the most misinformed
That is
in
true.
some ways.
That's true.
Right?
Yep.
There's a lot of like incorrect information out there, or just the accessibility information is there, but somehow the community still doesn't have it. Only for very few things do they have the
cause the
meta
information
right.
is not in game. They have to go to the wiki to check.
Yep, it's true. It's true, and sometimes the wiki isn't exactly friendly, and I understand that both sides of the coin for that too. Sometimes it's broken down really well, and because of the wiki, guys have to remember that I mean guys as in you guys in the channel. I think you already know this.
Yeah,
but guys who are watching, the wiki is written by other players, so it's not like one guy who sits there and just writes all this stuff. It's like it's a bunch of players.
FFTE wrote it.
who actually who actually contribute to it. So sometimes the information is on, sometimes it's slightly off, and sometimes it's written like an encyclopedia where it's like I don't really want to digest this because when I'm seeing these math formulas for damage 2.0 calculations, if you scroll down, you can see some of them.
My head
And
starts
kudos to you. Whoever did it, like amazing to you, okay? Like you broke it down to that level of math. Awesome. Like you must be like a quantum nuclear thermodynamic whatever scientist dude or whatever. You can write that out like that. Like wow, great for you. But at the same time, like it's not exactly layman terms for a lot of, including me. Like I don't understand the math calculation. It's quite complex. So it's like okay, I'll just scroll back up and then you have to filter through it. But you should do your homework regardless.
Yeah, I wish there was a simple calculator for that or something. Hey, if somebody wants to develop an app,
Just convert the
right
numbers
there.
into words. Easy.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is actually the funny thing is like a month ago, I think in April, no, maybe almost 2 months ago, iflynn actually made a pretty interesting comment in one of his videos. He was commenting on the criticism of Warframe, and I think that came from his heart. And I think he said a lot of great things. I respected iflynn a lot as a player, and not only as a player, as a guide creator, because he makes a lot of really good content for a lot of new players that are starting Warframe. And he has a great positive aura when he does a lot of like his videos, and he's very engaging with his audience. You can tell, and even though it's one way, like when he's recording this, he brings it to you in a very very good way. But he said that the game is so complex that when players come into the game, it's very very difficult for them to navigate through a lot of this stuff and understand it. And it's
true.
absolutely right.
So
yeah, absolutely right. Like
before the whole tutorial change, things were very difficult, and even now I wonder how new players would even know what to look for or what to grind first. Take for example like Eidolon hunting. I'm sure there's a lot of new players like MR7, MR11, or MR12 who go into plays of Eidolon, seeing these guys and try to take them down, and they don't even know why they can't kill it, and they look at videos and like, wait, what is operator? What is focus? Like other things to farm and grind, and I quickly see that becoming overwhelming very quickly and discouraging as well.
Yeah, that's right. Like a lot of, for example, Eidolon hunting is segregated into role-based gameplay. Like whatever Warframe you bring, that Warframe has its own abilities that contribute to the fight. And the thing is that a lot of the like the people who Eidolon hunt at first, like the community, they think that they're all snipers. Like that's a common thing. For example, everyone's running around with a Rubico. It's true, you're running around with Rubico as a backup if your DPS is failing, or for some reason if they have a bad angle on the shot, or they get CC'd, like hard CC chained, like from one to the next to the next to the next, and you're looking at 5 seconds of, okay, why isn't the limp popped yet? Then you take your shot and you contribute. Otherwise, a lot of people don't understand that your role is not to shoot that sniper rifle unless it's as a backup. But in like standard, recruitment, like a lot of like everyone's sniping.
Right?
Right? Yeah, right. So, and then a lot of people don't even realize, okay, they have it maxed, but they don't even realize the point of it. Like you're supposed to stack it up between fights and refresh it every single Eidolon, and then you the next Eidolon fight, like let's say Eidolon 2, Gary comes out, or Harry, the third one, you have whatever X multiplier, and then you go in and you can, with that multiplier, that contributes to your massive amp damage. And a lot of people don't understand that. Okay, as a hero, my job is to protect the group from the scream and provide a crit buff because of the scream that translates into crit buff for the sniper. But otherwise, I should be sitting there collecting a wisp every time and making sure that my amp shot's well timed. And I'm in the right position, and I have to activate Virtuous Shadow as well by dashing at the head. There are so many factors here, and I know I'm speeding through a lot of this stuff. So new players that don't know how to Eidolon hunt, and you hear this stuff, I know it's going to be looking at a like a science manual, and you're like, what the heck is he talking about? I don't understand any of this stuff, and I understand that, but those of you who see this all in hindsight, and you've actually experienced this, you'll understand. And the thing is that I love Eidolon hunting. I love the concept of it because I love synergetic gameplay. I love team gameplay because it's so fun. It's like it's you do it with friends or clanmates or both, whatever they are, and that engagement really changes the flavor of Warframe. When you're doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I'm definitely there with you. That having synergy gameplay, having Warframes that thrive in their environments, I think Warframes should have niches where they shine, right? That gives each Warframe the opportunity to be played in specific content.
Exactly. Yes.
One of the issues
That's right.
have, one of the issues I have right now is that with some of the reworks is that like it feels like Warframe has to have like some kind of armor stripping ability now, or they're not.
That's right.
They're not viable, or they have to.
That's DE.
Warframes lose their initiative.
I see a lot of that as community pressuring DE as well, though. Like, I think sometimes DE says this Warframe is fine the way it is, and people are like, you know what? It's blah blah blah. It's like, well, okay, fine, whatever. Like some reworks, they needed to happen. I agree. I don't want to play both sides of the fence here, but but no, sometimes
we have to give each side the voice. So I think we're doing fine.
I think when you're looking at an individual Warframe and you look at what it's meant for, sometimes the change is warranted, and sometimes it really isn't. Like if you're looking for that one solo Warframe that can kill all the content, you have it already. Like it's Rhino, later on Chroma, like Mirage, for example. Any Warframe that weapon buffs, and if you have a decent weapon, even half decent, without even a Riven, with all those buffs, you should be able to clear right up until most of the endgame content. From endgame content, I mean, you're gonna have to tweak. You're gonna have to start getting a lot of those mods like adaptation. You're gonna need to get an Eidos, and you want him Forma to take a lot of punishment, and you want an Arcane Grace, etc. Like for example, that's there, but nowhere in the game does it tell you that you need that. Nowhere in the game does it tell you that you should be heading in this direction or anything like that. And I think that if DE did that, it really would help a lot. But I know DE's perspective on a lot of this is, we put out the tools. You guys use the tools however you like. If you want to use them, use them. If you don't want to use them, don't use them. But that attitude was great when the game first started. When at its birth, when there weren't so many complexities. And I know this is criticism of the game that I love, by the way. So I don't mean to bash it. That's not at all what I'm trying to say. So any of you listening to this,
none of us here are trying to bash the game. Or
It's all in the hopes of making it better anyway. Right, exactly. So the game is very complex now. And Eidolon hunting could use, for example, a tweak. Because we've tried, you've been silent. Let's say D has been silent about it. and the community has tried it on their own, including getting Lanka Rivens and then getting Lanka Riven nerf, and then getting Rubico Rivens and then getting the Rubico nerf. And that's a whole spiel on its own. That's a whole other area on its own that we'll talk about in another video. But like there aren't very many. There isn't any instruction actually on how to do Eidolons. If the starter amp, for example, was somewhat half decent for Eidolons, even that would probably be better, because if you've ever tried to hunt Eidolons with a mode amp, I mean that's really nasty. Like
when we were
that's
training,
really bad.
like,
it's really hard.
you're training like, come on, with my little mic going pew 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 pew.
Yeah, it's more like beep, but it's like 30, 25, 30.
Yeah.
Compared to like 35,000 wallop that you're getting from like a Propa.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember days where we could one-shot limbs with just the amp.
You still can. You still can actually. You still use Magus Melt, and you need Virtue Shadow up, but you can still one-shot the shit out of a limb, including the shield. Like, and
still
back then,
know that.
that's right. A lot of community doesn't know how to. That's how you 6x3 a lot easier, is you have that. But my point, though, going back, is like there isn't any guidance in this area. There isn't any guidance on arbitration. But what we can use instead of at the end game.
Actually,
no, you're right. No, okay. At the end game, you're right.
Part of the fun is figuring out that puzzle, the optimization, right? So I guess it's kind of like a catch-22 for us here. I guess we're divided on that. Like we would like some guidance, but also not too much.
No. Okay, so I didn't really finish. I don't think that guidance at the end game should be there. I think players should already know. If you're in the end game and you're at the end game point, you should know now. And if you don't, well, that's too bad. And that's too bad means that what I mean by that is along the way, DE could have put different pointers along the way. For example, let's say fighting different specters. This specter is going to use this type of ability. Be prepared. Have it, maybe use like a hint at defensive warframe, or like, endgame players doing any of those specters now, you'll one shot. Like you could bring in like a half build Zoo Prime that'll just probably one shot on the first bullet. Or like any weapon almost. But players working their way up they don't know this stuff, and they don't even know how to build. So they don't know what crit base values are like. Like when you look at an endgame player or players who trade even, like for example, they'll even know crit values based off base stats. For example, if you look at a weapon and you see 22%, okay, this weapon is capable of orange crit because the weapon disposition is at 1.25 or 1.5 or something like that. This is not information that new players know. So
no, and I also have a problem with that. How Riven dispositions are displayed in the game versus how the value is actually calculated.
Yeah,
the
right,
5.6
system
is convenient to look at visually, but it's the only part of the game that's displayed that way. It's just represented by symbols, rather than just having an actual quantitative value.
I think we covered that in our UI thing, but you're absolutely right.
Absolutely right. It doesn't help. Actually,
it confuses
people.
And it goes the wrong way. Yeah, that's right. And like I said, any D that if you're actually listening to this, I'm not telling you this so you feel bad. Like, oh, you did a bad job. It's not that. It's just that we could use a little bit more. I guess either a translation or something like that, where when you look at this 5 star dot, it means something. Like it means this in terms of metrics, right? So, but what I meant by guidance, right? But what I meant by guidance along the way was at the beginner level, at the intermediate level, and the way I'm going to say this is like the way I can explain this is like it's just like a family. It's like, and it falls to a lot of community, but if your family has strong ethics or has strong values, you're raised in a certain way, it doesn't impact you very, very heavily as you grow older, right? And I'm relating this towards humanity and human nature and stuff like that, but it works the same way in the game. As you grow in the game from when you're a lower MR player and you have the appropriate guidance, the end game player result is completely different than one that hasn't. So yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there, like having some guidance along the way, how to build or even stuff like that, because there's so much versatility there now. Like even like small tutorials or something like that. teaching players how to
Agreed.
do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I think the tutorial system can be like a little more robust. Like I didn't know I had to start quests in the codex for like the longest time, but that may be new. That may be fixed for newer players now. But um,
I think it's still the same.
there's like this thing's like a training model in the codex. Like what? When did this? Like I guess these days I don't look at it as much. But just real quick, where are we headed with this? I feel like we're about to wrap up soon.
Yeah, we are. But we were headed in a direction where it was like you were mentioning. There are a lot of points in the game where you actually mentioned this earlier on, and you're like, there isn't a lot of guides for Eidolon hunting, for example. And so it's like, my point was that if there was like some sort of tutorial, or if there was some sort of way where you could learn how to do it a little better, then it would basically close the gap on what the community had to cover, because there's just so much out there, right?
Okay.
That was my point.
Right. I see your point, Jay. So maybe like with Eidolon, we can like for people who are interested, they could be like a little like a mini mission that shows you like, like the process of taking one down. It could be like a really weakened Eidolon or something, right? And the new player goes in with even with the little modam, they take out what's left of the shield and they shoot down like maybe the last limb.
Right.
That would be perfect.
Right. Yeah, and it would say like something like use your amp or something like that, or like the thing is that there is no information out there other than Wiki, and Wiki for Eidolon hunting is a massive encyclopedia if you've ever looked at it. So exactly,
I have my personal gripes about like how much the game depends on the Wiki. There's so many great games out there that you don't need the Wiki to learn how to play the game. You don't need the Wiki to tell your story or depend on the codex to tell your story. Anthem and Destiny both tried to do that, and they both failed at it incredibly. Like I'm a big fan of the Space Ninja, Space Warrior kind of game, and my personal gripes with both of those games and Warframe as well. This is just an honest heart to heart criticism here, and I hope DE doesn't take this the wrong way. That like I still don't fully understand your story that you're trying to tell. It doesn't come through. I'm not hooked by it. I'm not emotionally invested in your story, and I think that's due in part in the way that it's presented. I think you have the recipe and the pieces of a great story, but it still hasn't come together for me.
Yeah, that's. I think we could cover that also in another video too. I think it works. But I echo what you say, but like I still stand firm on what I've said earlier. Like if you take a look at a person who's trying to learn the Eidolon hunt, for example, they're not going to have the resources to build a 223 amp. Like 223 means, for those listening who don't know, is a Schwach prism, Shraksun scaffold, and 3 is Lore and Brace. Like that's your starter Eidolon hunting amp.
You actually memorized that? Oh my god!
I think a lot of players do, because
You're such a nerd, dude. I just know it's like a 777, and that's what I go with.
Yeah. I actually had to learn it because like a lot of clan members would come to me and they'd say, "What does 223 mean?" I would tell them, "Get a 223 amp," and just telling them that didn't mean anything. And then even from everything from like, I know UIs is another thing, but when they go into like Onco and they try to buy the 223 amp, they don't know what 2 is generation 2. And that 777 is generation 7. And if you try to even sort the amps, it doesn't really show it based on generation. There's no tab that says this is generation 1 or this is tier 1 or tier 2. And I know DE wanted full customizability of amps. I know that's why they didn't label it quote unquote in such a way. But either way, it's hard to recommend other players to build a certain amp when you have 12 different amp parts that you're looking at in Onco, and you're like, hey, which is what and what is what? And if you say 223 doesn't mean anything. And that's community labeling. Yes, that's right. That's true too. That's right. We did, and so a lot of the modular quote unquote, that's what they're calling modular weapons. They're harder to build because for optimization, if you want best output for this or if you want best output for that content, it's a lot more difficult because of UI stuff, but also because getting back to Eidolon hunt, like, and where I was going with that, it's difficult because for them to hunt, because that climb to even just get the 223 amp is quite big. They have to get the Cetus Wisps. I don't know if you guys remember this, but I had to take you guys through bounties to get the Wisps. And then show you the actual path that you have to follow. Yeah, and I showed you a certain path that was optimal for getting it. Like, if the grind was somewhat like less painful, I guess, because like as a clan leader, taking hundreds of players through this, it wasn't fun and it was quite very difficult. But I mean, I'm passionate about the game. That's why I'm still playing, and I'm passionate about my clan and about the members in it. And that's what makes a clan good is the personalities that are in there. But that still doesn't remove the fact that you have to spend all this time doing this and then spend all this time doing that in such a painful way. I don't mind spending the time, but if it was less painful, then it would be a little easier. For example, even finding the seizures was to doing it at night, and if I had to do it at night, then that means I can't Eidolon hunt myself, so I have to sacrifice my own gains, and
So-
that's difficult for me too. Like at the
Right,
time.
right. No, I understand, and that kind of, I guess, like in a way wraps everything up. That the grind in the game, whether it's for weapons or items or or in currency, Plat, right? That gives access to everything else, but the inconsistencies and the problems we have with the grind really cost us in the most important currency of all, the most valuable currency that we have, which is time. The problems that we have that we want to solve would really kind of help people make the most of their time. And I guess that's what I want to end this video with then. And so I want to thank Tyler and Andre for being here. I guess we didn't really get to hear much of them towards the end there, but having you guys here definitely was. We just really want to thank you for that, and thank you, Jay. I know you had a lot to say, and I hope that everyone was able to make sense of all of it. I know that we had a lot to say today. But this has been the Cryopodcast, and we hope you enjoyed it, and we want to see you in the next episode.
Thanks, guys.
All right, goodbye.
See you guys soon. Okay. All right. Bye.